Coach Safarik is my confidant, my friend, and my mentor.
He just has such high expectations for you that you have to rise to him. You don't want to disappoint the man.
He taught us that teamwork was more important than individual statistics.
He's a very genuine person, and you can feel that when you're his student. He makes you feel like you have ownership.
He was a very good person to look up to and to want to be a lot like when I grew up.
He tells everyone that, you know, they're his favorite, and he probably really means it. He remembers every kid.
He also has the ability to do some amazing things with students, and he's done that here for 50 years. I can't thank him enough for that.
Back in 1967, I believe the year was, when I graduated from Southwestern University in Georgetown. I was wanting to coach. I had done my student teaching at Taylor, but there were no job opportunities at the time. So I got on at Georgetown. They had hired me to be a junior high coach. And wouldn't you know it, before the school year actually started, they called me over here at Taylor. Mr. Shirley, who was the principal at the time, said one of their coaches had unexpectedly quit, the 7th grade coach, and was I interested? Well, yes, I was interested, but I'd already taken the job. But I had to go over and tell the Georgetown people that, you know, I was going to take this job. They weren't too happy about that, but I'm glad I made that decision because I never would have realized that what was in store for me for the next 50 years. I did take the job. I was a 7th grade everything. You coached all sports at that time. And did that for 3 years, was pretty successful, and then moved up for 1 year, even on the varsity level, and then the head coach left, and then I went back to the 8th grade. And I stayed there the rest of the time, and that was, at the time, I thought maybe that wasn't the best thing that was happening to me because I'd been a varsity coach, and now I was having to go back to junior high, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I got to stay in Taylor because, you know, varsity coaches, they don't get to stick around maybe as long as you'd like.
Coach Safarik has been a joy to work with. The value that he puts on his student relationships is second to none. You can tell right away that the kids are always excited to be in his class. I mean, he's actually one of those teachers in the morning. We've got more kids in his room than in some of the other places in the school because they know how much he cares. They know how much value he puts on education. So he's just done an absolutely tremendous job.
I knew of him as a thrall athlete in the early 60s when he used to come into the Howard Theater with his girlfriend while I was working there as a sophomore. I coached against him from 1968 to 1971. I played in his Tiff Day tennis tournaments in the 70s and 80s, and then I was able to coach with him in the 90s and 2000s.
I knew immediately that Larry was somebody that was a definite role model to those kids. He is definitely somebody that not only showed them that he cared about them, but as a coach was somebody that had gained their respect, you know, at a very young age. And in our time and in our nature of young people nowadays, that says a lot for adults that can garner that much respect from young people. And Larry was that guy. His tennis teams, football and track teams all were very successful. All his players idolized him. I remember one night we were at a football game, Taylor football game, a varsity game, and somebody came up to him. It was about probably 40 plus years into his coaching career, and I was standing there with him, and the fella came up and asked him, said, "Coach Safarik, do you remember the last time you had a losing season?" And he kind of laughed and giggled and looked at me, and he said, "That question's easy to answer." He said, "I've never had a losing season."
In those 37, 38 years I coached football, the worst record we had one year, we had a 5-2-1, I think, in that. And the year before, that team had only won 1 or 2 games, so I felt pretty good about that. There were probably 15 or 16 years that we had undefeated seasons. I know one time Coach Tennell was coaching with me, and we went 5 or 6 years without losing a game.
He put Taylor tennis on the map, and he was rewarded with a place in the tennis high school Hall of Fame.
We were his first state champs, and I think that's the first time I saw the man cry, and it was just a memory, just a memory I will never forget.
He's probably the winningest middle school coach in the history of Texas because we never lost.
I remember seeing all the district signs in the old field house, and you really had to look pretty hard at all of them to find a tie, much less a loss.
No team ever wanted to lose a game because if you did, you know, your predecessors and the people that followed you were most likely going to go undefeated. So you were the one that went 8-1 or, God forbid, 8-2.
I was at a wedding, and one of my ex-students, ex-outdoor rec and football player, who is now a University of Texas coach, Craig Niver, was there. I went up to him and I said, Craig, do you remember me? And he said, oh yeah. He said, I've had dreams and nightmares about you.
Back in the day, Larry Safarik was as tough as nails.
If you ever lost a game, you were soon going to find out everything there was about Taylor. And you were also going to get a new pair of shoes because you were about to find out what running really meant.
Anytime you'd mess up, he'd have you run this goof pole. And I think all the teams that did, you know, 8th grade, 7th grade on up actually did that. It's kind of like a sprint. So if you did something stupid, you knew you were going to end up running a goof pole.
Practices depended upon the game performances. If you won and there weren't any mistakes, you were going to just have regular hard practice coming up. But if you won, and even if you won big, if there were mistakes, the practices that were to follow were going to get you back focused to where you needed to be.
Coach Safarik had us running goof poles, and we ran goof poles, and we ran goof poles.
I really don't think Coach Safarik ever knew there was a number 10 because he never used it. The leg jumps always started from 20 on up.
They say I kind of got mellow here in my older years, and I hear some horror stories from some of the guys. But I don't know. As you get older, sometimes you kind of make your stories get a little different. And I'm accusing that's probably what they've done. I know that couldn't have been me out there, the stories they tell.
I just remember all of us looking at each other like, we won the game. Why are we running all these goof poles? He was not the kind that was going to come up to you in the 70s, in the 80s, and hug you, and you were the man. There were no more close games. I think we played up to our potential every game after that, and I believe we were undefeated in that particular season.
On my way to practice one day, I was going a little bit too fast, did have a wreck. I was more worried about Larry Safarik than I was my dad. I was going to be late to tennis practice. Oh my goodness.
Mrs. Dawn Slottick approached me, and we were at a football game, and she told me about her daughter was going from middle school to high school and how she cried because she was going to miss Coach Safarik. And I got this look of, Larry Safarik?
30 years ago, they sent me to a in-service training, which, to be honest with you, I've never got too much out of in-service training, but this one was a career trainer because I went to Seguin and this lady had kind of an outdoor rec program. I came back, talked to Mr. Eddie Langford, the principal. He said, we'll draw a curriculum up, write it up, and we'll see. We started out with 12 kids in one class, and it grew from there.
I came to know Coach Safarik my 8th grade year when I signed up to take his outdoor rec class. And I had heard that he's been doing it for a while, and in 6th grade, I was actually a little nervous that he was no longer going to be teaching it, and so that made me just really want to get up there, and 8th grade couldn't have came any faster.
I think what outdoor rec did for us is that it created a brotherhood that will last a lifetime. The amount of time that we spent together and the amount of time that he got to spend with us, it was phenomenal.
The ones that he had younger are usually, oh, Coach Safarik, because they remember him from football days. And the others, oh, we just love your dad, he's so nice. Those are obviously the outdoor rec people.
2 of my 3 daughters actually took his outdoor rec class, and my oldest daughter, who's 32 right now, got the pleasure of riding in the pickle when he first started outdoor rec, he didn't have a vehicle to transport the kids out to his place where they did all the activities, or most of the activities. And so the ISD gave him an old van that was green colored and was well worn, I guess is the best way to put it. But my daughter still talks about that, about the fun that they had, riding in the pickle that had rust spots in the floorboard, and you could see the road as you were driving down the street, and all the things that he taught them. And both of my daughters talk very highly of him.
He's a very genuine person, and you can feel that when you're his student, and the way he makes you feel like you have ownership in his class. He's not in charge. It's kind of you're running the show, and he's there to guide you.
Once I got into his outdoor rec class, we really started talking about deer hunting and the points, what the points on the horns are classified as, and that just fit right into my alley.
I brought him a picture. I went hunting with my dad, and I brought him a picture. I got a turkey, and somehow a miracle, I got this turkey, hit it in the neck, and then we did our outdoor rec thing at the end of the year, and we get to go out to his land and shoot the clay pigeons, and he always puts a pumpkin out, and I missed the pumpkin sitting on the ground, and I did not hear the end of that for the longest time. How do you hit a turkey, but you missed this huge pumpkin?
As part of our outdoor rec program, we have offered the kids an opportunity to come out to a farm I have out just on the outskirts of town, that they're able to come out and do things that maybe a lot of them never had the opportunity to do. Some of them have. And as a group to enjoy, and we call them socials, because we do usually some major activity, but it is a social. They get to mingle with each other. We have a wiener roast. Every once in a while, sometimes we'll cook hamburgers. Most of the time it's a wiener roast. We make s'mores, and you'd probably be surprised how many kids have never done that.
We had our final fishing trip to Thorndale, one of Coach Safarik's ponds. Time for us to get ready to leave to come back to the school, and I noticed my line there's a tug on my line. I grabbed the rod and reel, I pulled back really, really hard on it, and I know I had something really, really big. Well, he talked to the entire class before going out there, talking about how big these catfish were at his place. And I knew for sure that was the biggest catfish that we're going to catch all year long. So I was fighting with it. I was yelling. I was so excited. Coach Safarik jumped up. He ran all the way around the pond trying to find out what I had on my line. So literally he ran so fast. By the time he got there, I was still battling that. I didn't know what it was. I kept reeling it in. He goes, go ahead, reel it in, reel it in, reel it in, reel it in. So I was reeling it in as fast as I could. And I finally started bringing it to the bank, and it was this huge, I would say 5 foot around, soft shell turtle. I mean, it was huge.
About 10 years ago, a group came to me and they said, Coach, why don't you do something when we're in high school? And I said, well, we might think about it. So we call it the reunion, the outdoor rec reunion. We've been doing it for 10 years. We'll have a fishing tournament. We'll have a skeet shoot tournament. We'll have an archery tournament. And then we'll have a horseshoe tournament. And I'll cook up a bunch of sausage. And we'll have wraparounds. And usually have a pretty good turnout. Usually around 100 or more. I think about 120 was probably our record crowd.
Over the year, I had done a few jobs for him. Like, he had asked me to come and bag corn for him and chop cotton. That was some work right there. If you've never really worked unless you've chopped weeds in the cotton field with Coach Safarik.
And every time I see Coach Safarik, I remember seeing this turtle, I remember seeing him, I remember seeing how much he cares for the kids, and that's what actually made me to become a teacher nowadays. I would say it's because of Coach Safarik's influence in my life while I'm teaching here.
Coach Safarik is a huge inspiration to me. He's a main reason I became a teacher. I always knew I wanted to be a teacher, but he really kind of set it in stone. He showed me how to be a good teacher. I still think about his class today, and 8th grade was a long time ago.
My favorite part about outdoor rec had to be the cooking. I love the cooking. I couldn't get enough of it.
And going on different field trips like to Cabela's, I think that it helped us grow as a mini little family in our class, and like I said, it's going to last a lifetime.
So towards the end of the 8th grade year, I was very sad that it was ending, and it had gone by way too fast.
They're crying for him because they love him so much and they're going to miss him as they move on in life. We were crying usually because he was running us to death because we had just maybe lost the game or something, which was very seldom.
I know you kids of today think of him as the little kitty cat or the pussy cat, and he is the sweetheart of the world. But back in the day, tough as nails was Larry Safarik.
He was very firm, stern, but very fair.
When he would ask us to jump, we would ask how high.
He's just so sweet.
The Coach Safarik I grew up with and the Coach Safarik that the kids these days grew up with, same person, but different levels of respect and love. So.
As I got to later in life and started working more with the girls, I think that's what made me mellow a little bit and was not quite as demanding, but discipline has always been a great part of whether it's classroom or athletics or what, or just life in general.
When I was in the 8th grade, we had a pep rally, and it was in the morning, early morning, in the gym there at the old middle school on 7th Street, and I was at that pep rally, and 8th grader trying to be cool, you know, up in the stands with my long hair. I had hair back then, if you could believe that, but with my long hair and my shades on, and sitting there not really partaking of the pep rally, just trying to look cool and sitting there with my arms crossed and legs crossed. And we had PE that afternoon, and Coach called me into his office, and he yelled out, "Martinez, can I see you for a little bit?" And I walked into his office, and he said, "I saw you at the pep rally this morning." And I said, "Yes, sir, I was there." And he said, "Well, you were there, but you weren't really there. I didn't see you cheering. I didn't see you participating, and I think there's something wrong with that. Were you sick, or what exactly was going on?" And I really didn't have a good excuse other than I was trying to look cool. He gave me that look, that look of disappointment, and he was one of the people that you really didn't want to disappoint. And he always treated his students with respect, with great respect. And you know, he gave me that look that I had disappointed him, and I felt bad. And he said, I think I can expect better from you in the future, and I hope that I can expect better from you. And I said, "Yes, sir, you can." And it had been real easy for him to say, "You know, you're not in athletics. You know, I've made you one of the leaders in PE. Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I should give that title to someone else, and you know, you not have it." And he didn't do that. He gave me a chance, and he gave me an opportunity to right a wrong, and I never forget that.
One time we were scouting at Llano, had a Llano and Ballinger scouting assignment, and we went up there to watch the football game and come back with our report, and it was the week of the 9/11 catastrophe, and Larry and I were talking about the things that had been going on that week, and we talked about the lack of prayer anymore in the public school system, and we'd been visiting about that on the way up there, and we were sitting in the press box, and at halftime, the announcer on the loudspeaker at the football game said he'd like to see all the fans on either side of the football field to empty the stands and to join hands on the track. And about that time, they all got down out of the stands and said he led a prayer, and they said a communal prayer there at the halftime of the football game. And Larry Safarik looked over at me with tears in his eyes, and I could see through the tears in my eyes that he was about to bawl, and he looked at me and he said, "I love Llano, Texas." That's the kind of guy he is. Things like that touch him and you know, make his heart feel good.
My principal, Mr. Langford, talked me in. We didn't have a girls' basketball program at the time. They wanted to get it started at high school. They wanted to junior high. So I said, okay. So there I am, one coach, 7th and 8th grade girls who had never hardly seen a basketball at the old gym. And when we started the program, we scrimmaged thrall, and it was ugly. They put it on us pretty bad. That was back in the day when girls didn't play full court. It was 3-on-3. You had offense and you had defense. Well, we had athletes, and they learned, and they got better. And we played some games, played some tournaments, and was pretty good. Later on in the year, we put a tournament on, and we met Thrall in the finals. And after getting run out of the gym by them in the preseason, we were able to beat them. And our girls went undefeated that year.
And everybody knew he was such a great football coach, but one thing I don't think people do realize is he's one of the best three-point shooters you'll ever meet in your life. During lunch, he would roll out the balls and challenge us to three-point contests and everything, and there was never really anybody who could beat him. I thought it was just the younger generation. I talked to my older brother who was 4 years ahead of me, and he said that Coach Safarik used to do the same thing to them. So he was a great football coach, but he was also a good shooter that nobody really knew about.
I know I had had a couple of courses in college about organizing intramurals, and I started that back pretty quick at the old middle school. And we would do things. We'd have the basketball and the volleyball. We even had horseshoes outside under the old shade trees, and had softball games. And everybody would come out and watch, and this really became popular. Kids would really get into it, and I remember that some of the kids still, asking about intramurals. They might not even know what the word meant, but they enjoyed doing it. It was a chance to compete against each other, which basically what it is. It's competition within the school.
Trip to Lampasas to play football, and our bus broke down somewhere between 2 and 3 miles from their stadium, and I distinctly remember it like yesterday, seeing Coach Safarik get out of the bus, and it must have been bad because he was back in the bus pretty quick. He stood in front of us in the aisle and basically told us, he said, guys, either you can put your pads on or you can carry them, and I would strongly suggest you go ahead and put them on because we're going to have a little bit of a run here ahead of us.
The kids didn't, they didn't complain. In those days when you gave out equipment before school, they would be there. I'd say we're going to start at 7. I'd get there maybe 6:30, and there'd be kids in the bleachers already. I always had a lot of little gimmicks going on and stuff, and I'd put up, if it was a big game, I'd write down stuff on paper and stuff, hang it up in the field house. So-and-so from this team said this and that and everything. Junior high kids are pretty gullible. They'd, really, Coach? I said, yeah, that's what I heard,
He'd get a piece of paper and write a comment on it, and he'd put it on our lockers, the players' lockers. And I still remember mine. He put on there, last week, Winchie asked to get into the game, and this week he's asked to just help the trainers carry the water jugs out to the field.
We'd have on games with Halloween, we'd put up piñatas with candy and tease them all week in the field house that if you won the game, you got to bust that open afterwards. And even when I got out of football, after about 37, 38 years of football, I still was a coordinator of the junior high program and coached track, and did the tennis, the varsity tennis, for 11 years.
A lot of my memories from early were at the tennis courts. A lot of us people probably remember my brother and I as the ones that were chunking rocks at each other while Dad was putting on the TIFF days, the Taylor Independence Festival tournament, and or at the football games, running out there to get the tees.
Georgetown, which had just built Serenata Country Club, they were big into tennis. Austin Westlake, I think that's enough said right there. They've got tennis players there. They were in our district, and we, except for 1 year, we finished second. We won 10 of the 11 district titles. The last 5 years I coached, this High School Coaches Association started team tennis, and we entered. The first year we were runner-up. The next 4 years we were state champion. And even when I quit, I left 12 seniors as a return team, and they won state the next year. Coach Hall, who coaches the program now, was such a competitor when she played, and her partner Janice, when they were juniors, I believe. Janice got in a car wreck at Christmas and broke her leg, and oh man, and we were looking for big things from them.
My partner and I, we played together for 4 years. She was in an accident as a junior, and we had to get it back together. Coach Safarik put me in singles. My name was Simsick at the time, And he goes, Simpson, you're going to play singles. And I said, no, sir, I can't play singles. And I did for a while, and my partner Janice came back. And
we got Janice out there in February probably or so. She was hitting off the ball machine with legs still in the cast. And we got her ready by the time district got there, and they qualified. We didn't make it to the state tournament, I don't think, that year. But a year later, they were state champions.
She got better, and that year we did qualify for state, and the next year we did win state. The greatest feeling in the world.
My dad suddenly passed away, and brother and I decided to take over his farming operation, and there was no way to do all of that. So I stayed with the teaching and coaching, but the tennis took a lot of time in the summer and during the spring, which is really busy out on the farm. Thinking back on the years when I coached football, when I was the mean guy, according to some people, and including my wife, I just, you know, I know when we first started, I was by myself in the 7th grade, and I basically, that was before daylight savings time, I'd work until it got dark. I mean, you got one guy and you got 70, 80 kids, you'd stay out there till, you know, at that time without daylight savings time changed to 7 o'clock or so. And and we didn't have the best workout facilities. We dressed over in an old field house that used to be across from Wesley's Grocery, for those of you that might know where that was. And when it rained, we had to almost swim to get to it. And there was no heat, and the only air was the air that blew through the cracks in the walls. One time we had to go all the way up to what is where I guess it's the pharmacy is there across from the bank, because that was our practice area, the baseball field, high school baseball field, Sportsman's Field at the time. And we had to jog all the way, and I can't imagine nowadays our kids that they would be able to handle that. Times are so different, because that's a pretty good jog, especially when you're tired and you're going back. But I think one game that I remember, and it's just kind of that old adage of never giving up. We were playing one of the Round Rock schools before Round Rock got really big, and we were behind like 8-6 or something, and they had the ball, and they were basically running the clock out. So it wasn't much we could do. They ran a play, and we blitzed the linebacker, and somehow they didn't block him, and he ended up taking the handoff from their quarterback and went the other way. And the officials at first didn't know what to do, and I'm hollering, it's legal, it's legal. And he scored, and we took a 12-day lead, and Lord, that was pandemonium. Of course, what I didn't know was that they come back, and they had about a minute left, and they liked to scored on us throwing the ball, which would have been a total disaster after what we'd pulled. But we hung on and won that game, and I just, you know, it's one of those, you shouldn't have won, there's no way you can win, but if you don't give up, you have a chance.
We played Westlake 3 days later. We played Belton, I believe, three or 4 days later. We played Seagoville, and then we ended up playing Corsicana the following week. But, you know, we didn't win those first 3 games on talent. We won those first 3 games on working together as a team.
He's such a foundational piece to Taylor athletics. So what I mean by that is, like, he was in the best spot possible when I was there, and so he was middle school coordinator during my time, and during that time he laid the foundation for all the success that we've had in the, you know, past 10 years or so. I think because, you know, when you walk in the door, it's the amount of discipline that he just demands.
I would not take anything for those years as a tennis coach. Our kids were fantastic, not because of the coach. I just gave them the opportunity to play and took them places. But they were just athletes who had not the best form, but they were competitive. And they tend to, you know, that goes a long way. At the same time that I was coaching tennis and was having success, and then when I got out in a few years later in 1991, when one of the other coaches put me up for the Tennis Hall of Fame that the coaches have, And I got inducted in that the same year. My brother and I were named the outstanding farmers in Williamson County. I'd say that's probably a combination that you're not going to see a tennis coach and a farmer on the same level there. So I'm pretty proud of that because I am just a basic kind of a rural type of guy. And I'm so proud now of the fact that our kids actually have tennis courts at their school, and honored that they named them after me. But Coach Hall, who is one of my varsity players that was a double state champion, has done a tremendous job, and I wouldn't want to try to duplicate her record. Kerrville-Tivy, which when we first started, I told the kids that's who we want to be. They came out in their fancy warm-ups and all this and stuff, and we were out there, it kind of looked like, nothing special. And before long, we had our warm-ups and we earned money and stuff, and we got good just like Kerrville-Tivy, and pretty soon we were able to handle those folks. We played them one year over at Georgetown at Serenata Country Club in the state finals, and it was 13-0 when they said they've had enough. We did not even lose a match in team tennis. We had Brownwood at Texas A&M's tennis courts one year. It was cold. It was like snow flurries, and Brownwood, which is up further north than we are, should have been a little more used to it. But I got a feeling when it got cold, they probably didn't work out. Taylor did. Cold or windy. Our kids got out there, and it was really over before it even started. The UT tennis coach, Dave Snyder, his son played for Westlake, and he got to know us, he got to see us, and he approached me about, hey, I've got this class I teach at UT, could I get you to come be a guest speaker and tell about how to organize a high school tennis program? Well, I was young and excited. I probably wouldn't even hesitate now. I'd say no, because I wouldn't even want to drive over there. But I said yes, and I went over there, and coming from a small high school and a small college, I was kind of overwhelmed when I walked in, and it was kind of an auditorium with 100 and something students, and I'm looking up at them, and I didn't know how much attention they're going to pay, but Coach Snyder introduced me, and he kind of, it was funny because he kind of said, this coach from Taylor, he said, and they have their regional tournament at Corpus Christi the same time we have, which was the old Southwest Conference. He said, and we really don't have enough money to stay anywhere fancy, so we've got a player that lives close by in Bishop. We stay at his house. He said, and Taylor stays at the Sheraton on the beach, and he'll tell you how you do that. So, I know, I believe in competition a lot. I believe that you don't just go out there even in outdoor rec and say, okay, we're going to shoot 5 arrows each. And we got to make a game of it. My wife hates that. She says, why does everything have to be a game? Well, it's a game because it makes it more competitive. You tend to try. But when you, and I have different ways of choosing teams. Sometimes I know, because I know as teachers, they say get in a group, you're going to get with your buddies. And I like to be with my buddies. But sometimes they tell you, they got it mapped out different. Oh, you got to go be with somebody else. Well, that's good still, even though you hate it at the time. So I'll do it. I'll do it sometimes by buddies. Sometimes I'll do it alphabetically. Sometimes according to what shirt color they may have. Sometimes we'll just choose. Well, of course, when you choose, you always got the last 1 or 2 people and who are not quite as talented, and they're the last, and I always kind of felt bad about that, and but so I came up a way to where that became a positive thing. So if you're the last couple of guys chosen, you get a reward, usually some candy or something. So it got to be where when it got down to the last few people that are over there, don't choose me, don't choose me. And they get ticked off when they get chosen because they want to be the last guy because it becomes a positive deal. And so I think that's worked well in eliminating that stigma of, I'm the last one, I'm the worst. So now they're upset the other way because they got chose.
To this day, you can go into his classroom, you can see him interact with them, and he has that same respect from those kids, and definitely is very compassionate now to them. I know from talking to older generations that played for him before that he may not have always been that compassionate, but he always gained that respect from them. And, that shows that somebody that is committed to what they do and their commitment to the kids. And Larry always has shown that commitment, and then in turn the kids return that commitment to him and to our programs.
And I think that if you asked any of them that coach or teacher or whatever never saw color, I think that's one thing I can say. I could never have told you how many white, black, brown, whatever I had on my football team. I didn't care. I wanted the best player to play. And if it was going to be 11 of one color, that's what it was going to be. Same way in my outdoor rec classes. I just want kids that want to learn. And if you want to learn, I don't care who you are, how rich or poor, how poor you are.
When you coached us, we weren't brown, we weren't black, we weren't white. We were all green and white.
He really doesn't play favorites. Whether you are the star of the team or you're the third string on the B team back then, you're expected to follow the same set of rules and the same set of consequences.
He was very firm, stern, but very fair.
And that's something that I've tried to instill within my classroom, is that you're each going to get exactly the same treatment, and there's not going to be anything special rules for one or the other.
I always ask at the end of the year, I put out a little survey, kind of helps me plan, teach, see, and they don't even have to sign it. And I ask, did I treat everybody fairly? Did I show, you tend to have certain students you might spend a little more time with. And I always get the response, yes, you did. You spent time with everybody. No one ever said that I felt like you never helped me. And that would really have been something that I would have felt bad about if I hadn't taken the time to when a kid needed help.
So he was a tough coach, but he was fair, and he always taught us how to win.
They responded really well, and even though some of them probably didn't really think too much of it or really didn't like me too much then, I get response from them about, they're glad we pushed them. Even some guys that didn't play football that I had in PE that I thought, then I better watch, they're probably liable to come after me. And after remembering some of the instances I might have had with them in class, and they actually come up and thank you for being, tough on them. And most of them have turned out to be pretty good.
I think I was successful in the Navy a lot because of what Coach taught me, that team was more important. So in the Navy and in your professional life, if you put your team first, you'll get your individual accolades. And he taught us that.
It's amazing the number of years that he's been in education and been in Taylor, and how many parents that he knows. And I think the impact he's had with those relationships has really helped his program grow, because over the years, all the previous students that he's worked with, now their kids going through the program, those parents remember how great it was and how much emphasis he put on education, and it's really just being passed down generation to generation, and it's really exciting to see how he builds that, and I think it's really commendable.
When you've been in it as long as I have, you start having students of the students, and you have students of the other students. In other words, we got daddy, and mama, then we had daughter and son, then we got grandson and granddaughters. I've had some of those where I'm teaching, I've taught their grandpas and I'm teaching them. And to look around and to see and everybody's still a kid to me. They're maybe 50s, 60s even, and I call them a kid because I remember them more when they were, when I had them in school. But to see the success and to see that most of them have turned out to be really successful and have raised great families and great kids. And it's like now, I've got several kids in class that I taught their mamas and daddies. And it makes me so proud to see how good these kids are.
Every time I would see Coach Safarik, I'd make it a point to go say, hey, coach, this is what I did. And, you know, you could see the look of pride in his face.
My son Ty was in outdoor rec, and he kind of brought him to life with his hobbies and being outdoors and the fishing, and just really helped him become kind of who he wants to be and put him on that path in life.
I was at an activity here in town, a community activity a few years ago, and Larry and his wife Katie were there, coaching his wife Katie, and of course we got to talking about memories and the memories that I had, and you know, sharing some of those with him. And I'll never forget, Katie turned to me after I was through and I smiled and said, Thomas, sometimes it's tough living with a legend.
Not only have I been in the school business for 50 years, I've been married to the same gal for 51 years. My high school sweetheart, Katie, and that's where I really struck gold, and was lucky enough to get a lifetime partner like that, who is very intelligent and believes in hard work also, and enjoys a lot of the same things that I do, and I think that's what makes, you know, a good pair, is when you have the same interest. We have two boys, Kent and Brett, who are in their 40s, and Kent runs a company here in town, and Brett teaches for Taylor ISD. So it's been a good run. We have one little grandson that kind of my wife calls the general, because he gives a lot of orders, and we have to follow him. He's going to be 3. We like traveling to the foreign countries, even though now with all the stuff going on in the world, it's become a little bit more, leery of going to some of the places. But I think at last count, we've visited nearly 50 foreign nations, nearly all the European countries, including Russia a couple times, and the Middle East, even Turkey and Israel and those countries. Been to China and Japan and Vietnam and Cambodia and some of those places. Been to a lot of the South American, Central American countries, a lot of the Canadian provinces. We are both avid hunters, and Katie and I, we hunt deer. We have a couple of leases, and you probably won't see us around during deer season every weekend, unless somebody decides to plan a dang wedding during deer season. Everything, we're going to be at the deer lease. I'm still doing the outdoor rec classes. Right now I farm about 2,500 acres of land, have another 300 acres of pasture and hay grounds, and about 70 mama cows, and so there's a few things to do.
The Larry Safarik Taylor Duck for Life Award. Haven't been here now for a few years. I wanted to have something that would be a lasting impact, and not something for me, something for people who have given a lot to Taylor ISD, to Taylor Athletics specifically. And I couldn't think of anybody better to start that with than Coach Safarik. And anyone that receives that award in the future years can know that who that award is titled after and what type of impact he had, and then understand that they had that same similar impact on the programs, whether it be through the athletic side or whether it be a community member that works with our young people and makes them successful.
You know, in dealing with kids, you not only hope maybe you teach them some skills, whether it be a sport or whether it be just a lifetime skill such as hunting or fishing, but you hope that you set an example of what they should be, of how they should act, how should they react to people. You try to teach them to be, you know, be honest with each other, and if you make a mistake, I always say take your medicine and go on. You know, don't try to worm your way out of it. If you've screwed up, and we all do, including me, but take your medicine and whatever punishment, and then go on, and it's over. Don't try to lie your way out of it, and you know, treat, you know, the old thing, treat somebody like you want to be treated. And if you know, if you wouldn't want to be made fun of, and sometimes there's different ways, we kind of joke around, and sometimes, but kids have a way of, when they don't really realize that they're hurting somebody's feelings, and this happens sometimes where kids won't say anything about it. And I know we have from time to time had things come up where we've talked to the kids, and you could tell they didn't really realize that they were maybe, you know, causing some harm, that they were causing themselves to kind of not be liked by these people and everything. Some people take it different, but you know, do what's right, be honest, work hard. Don't do things that are going to embarrass yourself, and think about your mom and your dad and your family. Always remember you're representing Taylor ISD when you're out on you know, whether it's a sports deal or what, whether we be adults or whether we be the kids, as coaches or as players and representatives. People see that, and then right away, if somebody sees you doing something wrong, oh, that's just the way the Taylor kids are. And you may be the only one that's ever done that, but they'll have that opinion. And never think that somebody doesn't see you. I know I always like to use an example. I tell the kids when I tell this story, I tell them, you know, hey, just think, you think, oh, nobody's going to see me here. Nobody knows me. Nobody, you know, knows I'm from Taylor or what. A few years ago, my wife and I were on one of our summer trips, and we were visiting a mosque in Istanbul, Turkey. And I'm in line to go through this metal detector. And as everybody knows, I usually wear caps. And the guy behind me taps me on the shoulder, and I had one of my coaching caps that said Ducks. And he says, that wouldn't happen to be the Taylor Ducks. I about fainted right there. I'm halfway around the world there, and who in the world? People in Austin haven't heard of the Taylor Ducks. And I said, it sure would be. Well, come to find out that he was there as a coach working with some of the people stationed in the Army there with their kids. He had coached at Georgetown, was now in the Dallas area, so he knew about the Taylor Ducks. But, you know, I run into him, and then I always said, you know, the Ducks are famous worldwide. Well, I think that proves it right there. There's only a couple of Ducks, you know, us and the Oregon Ducks, but that's why you just never know. You never know who might be that might know that you're representing yourself, your family, your city, your school. So act right. Do something that you're going to enjoy. If it can pay you a little money, great. But don't just go for the big bucks and then be miserable the rest of your life and hate for Monday to come. And on Monday you're looking already towards Friday because you just don't enjoy the week, and you have a vacation and you just hate to go back. So do something that you're going to enjoy and that will pay you, you know, maybe a good salary. But if it's a choice, take less money and do something you'll enjoy, because you'll be a lot happier and you'll probably be a lot healthier the rest of your life.
He was very good and is very good at capturing the best of a student and bringing it out. And we're young, we make mistakes, even as adults we make mistakes. But without question, Larry Safarik has that talent to be able to bring out the best in people.
He really helped me grow, not just as a student, but as a person. And I really thank him for that.
Being a parent and being of age now myself, I can appreciate a lot of the things that he instilled on young men. Stuff that you really don't see as much today as you did back then.
As hard as he was on you, you respected him like crazy, and everybody loved him. And I think that for me, like, that's something I'd look up to.
I felt like he was a very good person to look up to and to want to be a lot like when I grew up.
He really cares about the people and the students who have gone through his program and continue to give them opportunities, continue to call on them, and continue to be a mentor and a friend, and just a very important figure in their life.
He wasn't just teaching us how to hunt and fish, and he was mainly, most importantly, teaching us about responsibilities and that it's important to be a reliable person and dependable.
And just his distinctive walk, how he always calls us by our last name, even as students. You know, it was always Martinez, it was never Thomas, or it was always Smith or whatever, but it was never by your first name.
Has that chiseled Clint Eastwood look.
And of course, there were the leg jumps.
But he did give me some kind of prize for catching the soft-shell turtle.
Well, I've known Coach Safarik all my life, and for the longest time I thought my name was Coach Safarik's boy, because it was always, "You Coach Safarik's boy? Aren't you Coach Safarik's boy?" And the answer was always, "Yeah, that's me." Guilty as charged.
I've worked with him, scouted football games with him, fished with him, hunted with him. I've laughed and I've cried with him, and it's all been a pleasure.
No matter what, always expected the highest out of everyone.
If you're going to do something, it's always been do it right, whether it's 50 years of coaching, whether it's in his farming, or whether, you know, it's jobs that we had to do at home. It was, if it's worth doing, you better do it to the best of your ability.
He just has such high expectations for you that you have to rise to him. You don't want to disappoint the man.
His outdoor rec kids treat him like a rock star every time they see him.
I know every student that he's ever had just adores him.
People come to my classroom because they expect to see my dad, and they're like, "We thought Coach Safarik had decided to go ahead and teach first grade after all these years." And I said, "Oh no," I said, "he started at the middle school, he's still at the middle school, and he may be there till the end of time as far as we know." But
I do get on Facebook a little bit, and then when sometimes I see a comment about the class, and I see people chime in, best class ever, and this and that, and things that, you know, our kids say, he taught us so much more than just hunting and fishing. That makes my day, and it makes me want to continue on. It does more than if you said you were going to give me a pay raise, because, you know, that's just priceless. You can't quit when you've got support like that, and I don't intend to, as long as I can stay healthy. I've always, when people ask me, and parents have got 7th and 6th graders, and they say, you know, 1-2 more years, I'll do it as long as I'm healthy, because I enjoy it. It's not really a job. It's kind of a hobby, and it's just a lot of fun.
I will say, Dad, you've always been my biggest hero, and 50 years seems like a long time, but the funny thing is, everybody else has changed, but you still look the same, and that's what I hear all the time. And Mom doesn't really like to hear that either.
Some people have jobs, other people have careers, and a few people have callings. And without question, Larry Safarik had a calling.
He's just the most special person. I love this man.
He was so passionate. He was so understanding, and I knew right away going into this class, it's gonna be a great class.
A lot of people come and they'll say, you know, "Oh, well, your dad is really, you know, he really did a lot for my son or for me, or he's had a lot of impact." And I don't think that Dad even really views it that way. I think he just sees it as he's doing what's right and what he should do.
I just think that we need to appreciate the treasure that we have in him.
I really treasure those moments with him because he's a really, really great person.
A fellow said that a man's worth is judged by the number of people that he influences and that he touches in his lifetime. And if that's the case, then Larry Safarik should be the richest man on earth.
Hey, Coach, congratulations on 50 years at Taylor High. That's incredible. Nobody does anything for 50 years.
Coach Safarik, don't tell anybody this, but you are still my favorite teacher. Always will be.
Thanks, Coach, for everything. 50 years, wow, that's a long time.
The day I met you, I just really grew as a person, and you've really helped me in my walk of life, and it couldn't be any better. Thank you so much.
Congratulations on 50 years. Hope you get many more. Leg jumps never get old. I understand you were giving those out before my time and hopefully after my time, so congratulations.
Coach, thanks for all the years that you've dedicated to the youth and to the community, and know that you're making an impact on each and every one of us.
You will always be Coach Safarik because you're so dear to me.
Coach Safarik, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be in an outdoor rec class. Thank you for allowing me to do so many things that I didn't have an opportunity to do before until I took your class. And I believe that your class really allowed me to be the outdoors person I am today. So thank you.
My family, Ty, myself, we're very, very thankful for you.
You have made an impact not only on me in my coaching career, but the young people that I've had opportunity to work with that came through your guidance, whether it was in the athletic realm or whether it was in outdoor rec. You made a difference on who they were as a young adult.
Coach, congrats on 50 years. I just want to say thank you for everything that you've done for this town. Thank you.
I'm proud to call you my friend, and congratulations on 50 years.
Coach, thank you so much.
Coach Safarik, I want to congratulate you on 50 years here in the district. That's quite a feat. At the same school, in the middle school, I understand. So great job. I appreciate being one of your players and as far as tennis and football and basketball. Enjoy your 50 years.
You have set a high bar for what coaches need to strive to achieve in the type of impact they need to have on kids. And so I appreciate you setting that and being that type of mentor for me and our coaching staff here at Taylor.
I would like to tell Coach Safarik, thank you for the dedication you had with all of us athletes in those days and the young men you made us turn out to be.
We love you, Coach Safarik!
Congratulations, Coach Safarik. You've been a great coach to me. You've been a great mentor to me, and I'm very happy for you. Congratulations again, Coach.
Congratulations, Larry, for 50 years in public education. I was with you 16 of those years at the old middle school on 7th Street. It was a great time. I remember you starting the intramural program and how much fun we had as teachers and administrators playing with the kids during lunch hour. I remember you always running with the kids when you went out to take them out to the field. I remember all the times that at the end of the day when it was time to go to athletics, those kids were running out of the school and hitting their bicycles and piling on cars to try to get down to the field. You were a superb motivator.
Coach Safarik, it's been a great 17 years. I appreciate everything you've done for our community, for our school, and especially for me and my family. It's been tremendous. You accepted us like family, and everybody here loves you, and you are Taylor America.
Hi, Coach Safarik. Well, congratulations on 50 years. Sorry we messed up your perfect football record, but glad you weren't real upset. If you don't remember, that was against our 7th graders, lost to the 8th grade Lampasas team. But we were on the 2-yard line at the end of the ball game about to score and win, so it wasn't too bad. Anyway, congratulations. Thanks.
Congrats on 50 years, Coach. I hope you get a lot more than just 50.
Hey, Coach Safarik, wanted to say thanks for teaching my children how to make the best chicken fried steak.
Congratulations, Coach Larry Safarik. We want to thank you for the many years that you put in touching the students' lives in Taylor. You have touched both my children's lives, Yvette is a counselor at middle school, and Matt is a doctor in Stephenville specializing in sports medicine. Thank you for all your guidance, and especially for not getting after me for loading all the kids on my car going to the practice at the football field. Congratulations, and continue your good hard work for everyone. Thank you.
Congratulations, Coach Safarik. 50 years, man, you've been in the district for a long time, and you are one amazing coach. I've got to know you for the last 2 years with Intramurals over there at the junior high. You know, every day during sixth grade lunch, we go out and do the Intramurals. You're just an amazing person. You've even let me go hunting on your land. So I just want to congratulate you, and hope to see you next year.
Congratulations, Larry. You probably know more of my brother since he works on your campus more, but I know that I've kind of interacted with you with my brother, and then going to your barbecues once a year on your property is awesome. You always have good food. Just wanted to say again, congratulations for your 50 years, and I hope you keep, teaching with the district and inspiring those kids to keep doing what they do.
Congratulations, Coach Safarik.
And thanks for enriching the lives of 2 generations of Rydels.
Thank you, Coach, for impacting my life.
Coach Safarik, thanks for setting a great example for everybody, doing something for 50 years. And obviously you must love doing what you do and never have worked a day in your life if you have done something that long. Thanks for the great impact you've left for everybody, and we wish you well in the next coming years.
We love you, Coach Safarik, from your Milam County girls.
Hi, Coach Safarik. I'm sorry I have not had the opportunity to have you as a coach or my children yet, but I have had the amazing opportunity to have your wife as my boss, and now my son has your son as his teacher. And truly, 1,000 miles begins with the first step. So thank you for your dedication to our community.
Safarik, really, 50 years. I mean, that's a hard thing to follow, but I'm always amazed at everything that you've ever done. You're so dedicated and committed, and have spent countless hours teaching young kids the meaning of what life is really about. And so from my heart, not only did you teach kids, you taught our staff, our teachers, our principals, and everyone. So I love you, and I wish you well in another 50 years in the classroom.
Thank you, Coach Safarik, for everything. We love you.
Larry, this is Ann Bruckner. I just want to tell you how much I appreciate, and I'll probably get emotional. Old age, you tend to do that. I just thank you for all the years you spent, and I'm thinking back to the tennis team and what you meant to those kids and to the parents, what you taught them about character, discipline, and also how to play tennis. I enjoyed being with you every minute, and I have learned from you. And thank you for all the time that you gave our kids.
Well, Coach Safarik, what a fantastic event to celebrate your 50th anniversary in coaching and being involved with positive impact on kids' lives. I'm one of those kids, and I remember with great pleasure my senior year. We didn't usually go to tennis meets till probably well into April, and we only went to a couple of meets. And after Bill Rosiska and I worked out all fall, you said in February, you said, you're going to go to a meet in Austin. And I said, what meet are we going to in Austin? You said, you're going to go play at St. Edwards. And I said, St. Edwards? We've never been to St. Edwards. And he said, yeah, but that's where the 4A and 5A schools play, and I want you guys to get some real competition. So I've registered you in St. Edwards. And I remember thinking, is there a budget for that? And years later, I look back, and it became very clear to me that there was no budget for St. Edwards, but you paid for that out of your pocket. And that's why it's such a joy for Brendan and I to be able to do things to help you continue doing great things for kids. And so I needed a little bit of self-esteem in high school, and going to state in tennis gave me that self-esteem, and as they say, well, the rest of it's history. So thanks so much for all your love and for all the wonderful things you've done for so many generations of Taylor Ducks.
Coach Safarik, congratulations on 50 years. Thank you for all you've done for students of Taylor ISD, and thank you for all you've done for my student of Taylor ISD, Mallory Hartman. You're her hero. You taught her so many valuable lessons, and they have made her an exceptional adult.
Hey Coach Safarik, it's Christy Millward with KVUE News. Congrats on 50 years of teaching. That is so exciting and such a huge accomplishment. I really had the best time getting to chat with you and getting to know you. It's so clear that you're such an inspiration to generations of students as well as just the Taylor community. So thank you for all of your hard work, and thank you for sending me my t-shirt. I love wearing that around. So go Taylor Ducks, congrats to you, and good luck in the future.